Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and today we have got for you a video all about some replacements for Jota. Now some of you may know already, but Diogo Jota has been ruled out for at least the first game in the double game week. The second one is probably a serious doubt for Jota as well. So I'm not expecting too many minutes from Jota over the double at all. Plus the blank that he has in 27 means a lot of you guys are going to be looking to sell him. So I thought today we'd talk about some of the midfielders that you could potentially bring in to replace Jota in your FPL teams. I hope this is going to be really useful. So we're going to be talking all about double game week midfielders basically in this video, and I think it should be pretty good. Now this would be the first of two videos today. I'm still making a free hit draft as promised. That video will be out a little bit later on, but for now we've got a video all about Jota replacement. So if you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like, please do subscribe if you're new around here. But without further ado, let's have a look at the first of my Jota replacements. And I'll also tell you, I'm going to go through, there's 6 of them, I'm going to go through my least favourite all the way up to my favourite. So the favourite one will be last. There we go. Right, who's number 1 or slash number 6? The 6th best replacement. Let's go. So our first Jota replacement is ZAHA. I'm seeing him hyped up a lot right now. He is an option. He is going to be probably the most nailed on of the Crystal Palace midfielders to go for. So in that sense, if you're just looking for a Crystal Palace player to go for in the attack, then ZAHA is your guy. He's got a double game week against Chelsea and Watford, and then Burnley next game week as well. Fixtures after that are not so good though. So I don't know if this is necessarily a very good long-term pick, and he is the kind of player who can become dead weight on a problem player in your team very, very quickly. Mostly kind of because of his disciplinary record. He is a bit of a loose cannon. He's a neck tattooed legend, but he is a loose cannon and he can cause you just as much pain as he can cause you joy. That's the really big problem with him. You know, he'll miss a penalty, he will get yellow cards very, very frequently, he'll get red cards as well, and he's not exactly having the best season in the world in terms of goals and assists either. In fact, even if you kind of look at his stats here, you're probably going to look at these stats and think, oh, that's not too bad. Expected goals 0.99 over the course of 2 games. Pretty good, right? That is kind of a little bit obscured by the penalty that he took. So without the penalty, his XG is a little bit lower. It's around 0.3 instead. So don't pay too much attention to that XG. Expected assist is not particularly great as well, but he has only played 2 games in the last 5 game weeks just because of AFCON. So there are some reasonably positive stats, but once you take away the penalty, once you take away that, that also takes away the big chance that he had over the last 2 games. It's not amazing, but he will get you minutes, and we know he's a good player. He can provide something very good for you, but he's one of those players that if you decide to pick this player and it goes all wrong, you end up with, like a 3-pointer because he's got a yellow card, or, he's got a red card in one of those games, in the first game maybe, and can't play the second. That is just what happens when you pick a player as volatile as ZAHA. So it is a super risky pick. I don't think it's a particularly good long-term pick either, but it is an option if you are just desperate to get on a Crystal Palace attacker. The 5th best pick, I think, is Sadio Mane. Now, the reason he's the 5th best pick, even though you'd probably say he's got probably a pretty high points potential this game week, is because he's not really a player I think you'd want to keep for the long term, really. If you're going to go for a Liverpool attacker, we know full well it's going to be Salah. And even though we can't have Jota right now, in the long term, again, Jota is kind of the player we kind of want a little bit long term. So in that sense, it's kind of a little bit of a tricky one. Could really pay off over the double game week. You never know. Mane could actually end up being the star of the show. We imagine that a Liverpool player will end up being the top scoring player of this game week 26. Could it be Mane? Yeah, I mean, yeah, technically, potentially it could. His stats are pretty good. He's, he's looking pretty sharp. He's just won AFCON, so a lot of things are going Mane's way right now. He is a little bit expensive, so you might not be able to, find the budget easily to get from Jota to Mane. And he's also probably not a player you'd want too long term. Also, what are your plans in game week 27? Are you willing to transfer him in this game week and then potentially have to transfer him back out again next game week when he has a blank? That's maybe costing you 2 transfers to get in Mane, maybe even 3 transfers if you've got to take a hit to free up some budget on that one as well. So for that reason, he has got to go pretty low on this list. Even though his points potential is really high, you do have to sacrifice a lot elsewhere to get around it. Also, are you free hitting next week? That's, I guess, okay, but then you've still got Mane in for West Ham and Brighton. Are you really going to want Mane for the longer term? So a really good short-term pick for this game week. Really nice punt. Longer term, the price, the fact that he will be rotated with kind of Diaz and Jota when Jota comes back, I don't know if it's 100% something I want to go for, but it's one of those risks that you could take that could seriously pay off. I'd say this risk is much more likely to pay off than a ZAHA risk, that's for sure. But you would think you probably have to transfer MANÉ out reasonably soon after bringing him in. The fourth best pick, I think, is RAPHINHA as your Jota replacement. It's a tricky one because RAPHINHA has kind of found himself out of form a little bit, but we know how good the player is. We also kind of look at this double game week, Man United and Liverpool. It's not the best double game week in the world, let's put that very simply. I mean, the only way it could be kind of worse if you're kind of talking about maybe like Cities in there or maybe a Wolves in there or someone like that. Some really tricky defences. But RAPHINHA, he is another player just like ZAHA, who ZAHA, by the way, is going to be still on penalties. RAPHINHA is also a player who is on penalties, so you only need a bit of luck. Over the course of 2 game weeks, you'd say that the potential for a penalty, is doubled, right? Surely that's how it works. So you're kind of counting on potential penalties, potential for RAPHINHA to find his feet a little bit, find some form, but he does create a lot. He is still very much a crucial part of the Leeds attack, even if he hasn't been getting massive returns recently. There is still a very, very, very good player there. And you know what? After the double game week, even though this double game week is not phenomenal, it's not fantastic, after that the fixtures actually do look okay. So he is a player that can actually be there for the long term rather than just finding a short term replacement for Jota. RAPHINHA is a kind of player that you would actually keep for a good duration of time. So Tottenham in 27, I don't think that's too bad of a fixture considering how bad Tottenham have been recently. It's a home game as well. We've got Leicester, who have just been a tragic defence. Norwich have been a pretty bad defence as well. So Leicester and Norwich in 28 and 29, those I really like for the slightly longer term. So if you're looking for that player who you're not massively worried about massively targeting the double game week. I mean, any double game week player is good and is going to get you a certain degree of points. You'd say RAPHINHA is 4 points absolute minimum from this double game week. After that, the points could come your way as well. So for that reason, RAPHINHA is not as bad of a shout as maybe some people are making him out to be. I know the form is not 100% there. I know the fixtures aren't great in 26, but slightly longer term, I quite like this one. The next Jota replacement and the third best in my opinion is Heung-min Son. A little bit expensive again. You may have to find a little bit of money to try and get to Son. I mean, what's Jota at the moment? 8.5 million. I don't know if he's going to drop, but 8.5. If you kind of can find 2.2 million maybe to go up to Son, or maybe you might need slightly more if you bought Jota in at a cheaper price. It's possible to get to Son. I don't think it's completely unreasonable to get to Son. The 2 double game week fixtures don't look great on paper. Man City away, Burnley away, it's not great. It's not great, but you feel like if you're going to go for a Tottenham player, Son is the one you're going to go for. If a player is going to score against these teams, it is Son. These are very much Son fixtures. Son has a great record against Man City. He's got a great record against Burnley as well, actually. So although I kind of agree, Spurs not looking great right now, not really too interested in any of their players. If you had to pick one, it's going to be Son. And then after that, the Leeds game in 27. That's obviously a phenomenal fixture. Everton at home after that. Even Manchester United away. These are pretty decent fixtures. And Son is probably, right now, my second favourite premium player to have in your team. If I had to choose 2 premium players to have in my team, one would be Salah and the other one would be Son. So if you can make that happen, then why not? I mean, it's kind of up to you. Do you trust Spurs? Spurs are a very untrustworthy team right now, to be fair. But if someone's going to do it, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Son. So I do think he is a reasonably good pick, actually, if you can afford to move Jota up. Next up, we've got Maxwell Cornet, the doubler, 2 double game weeks in a row. So obviously that is hugely appealing to get multiple double game weeks. Now, if you're not free hitting in game week 27 in particular, this is good because, we get to take advantage of 2 double game weeks. I don't massively like this double game week. Brighton away, Tottenham at home. It's not the most amazing double game week in the world. I think Burnley may struggle a little bit to get goals, but I've actually really enjoyed how creative Burnley have been recently, which is just a strange thing to say, I know, but they have been creating chances. And although Cornet has not been massively involved, I am expecting Cornet to regain his place in the forward slot at some point over the 2 double game weeks. I think he goes back into the forward slot. I think Rodriguez actually comes out of the team and Cornet goes back up top. And I think Cornet could create a really nice partnership up front with Weghorst. I'm really kind of looking forward to seeing what that kind of looks like because this is kind of the most exciting 2 forwards Burnley have had in a very long time. I think that could be a really good partnership. But Or even though this double game week isn't amazing, again, we're talking about planning a little bit for the future. Game week 27 looks like a really nice double game week, and I think there are, serious potential for goals there. Crystal Palace have kind of, been lacking in the defensive department, haven't they? And Leicester are kind of rock bottom in terms of defences. So Leicester at home is a really nice game, and if you're just kind of willing to just go for a double game week player this game week, who again, another player who's going to get 4 points, you kind of hope that he can get something against one of Brighton or Spurs. Spurs kind of been, struggled to, make a few mistakes. That's kind of what they do, and suddenly they can concede a couple of goals. Brighton have not been amazing in terms of keeping clean sheets, so that there's always the potential for 1 or 2 goals against Brighton. Is Cornet going to be the man to be involved in that? There's a very good chance between him and Weghorst. It's going to be those two. And the next week, you've got a really nice double game week. Game week 28, Chelsea, not so great. Maybe you can bench Cornet at his price. You can probably afford to bench him, to be fair. And then we're back in the good fixtures from 29 onwards. And also Burnley, as we know, have a couple of double game weeks to come in the future. They've got a couple of games that still need to be rescheduled in. And hopefully that's going to happen reasonably soon as well. So Cornet, I understand that his form has not been fantastic, but I do see him moving back into the forward position. I do see him becoming a really good FPL asset, particularly in game week 27. I'd want to have him for game week 27. So if you're looking for a Jota replacement now, why not just get him now instead? And finally, the number one pick that I in my opinion, is Bukayo Saka. I think Saka is just, the perfect Jota replacement. He's very cheap, so it's not going to be a case of you can't afford him. You can move down to Saka quite easily. Very nice indeed. We know that this double game week for Arsenal is going to be really nice. Brentford at home, Wolves at home. Even though Wolves is kind of tricky, at least it's kind of a home game. You feel like Arsenal, particularly in that Brentford game, could score 2 or 3 goals. And if anyone's going to be involved, we're going to be talking about the likes of Saka. Saka is going to be one of the main attacking outlets for Arsenal in this game. So yeah, really nice. Again, you've got to make sure you're covered for 27. Whether that means you're taking a free hit in 27 or you are, maybe, willing to use a transfer to take an Arsenal or Liverpool player back out of your team to make sure you can field a full 11 in 27. But particularly for those of you guys who are thinking of free hitting in game week 27, Saka is just perfect because not only does he have this double game week in 26, there are strong indications that Arsenal could have a double game week in 28. It seriously could happen. Like, there's realistic chances because that is the next available, free midweek slot for Arsenal and for a couple of other teams as well that Arsenal are yet to play. Liverpool, Chelsea, more likely Chelsea, I guess. But even though Chelsea's not the best double game week in the world, this is Arsenal. Arsenal have been really good form pretty much for the last few months, right? They've been a good team, and Watford is a good fixture as well. So that double is going to be nice. Leicester in 29 as well, which is a really nice fixture. So as long as you can cover 27, double in 26, good possibility of a double in 28. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but there's a good possibility of a double in 28 and then another good fixture in 29 as well. These are looking really, really good for Saka, the most nailed on player in that Arsenal team as well. Everything is looking really good here. If you had to go for one Arsenal attacker in this double game week, it would be Saka or possibly Lacazette, just because, we're looking for forwards desperately. But Saka certainly is a really, really good Jota replacement. And the one I would go for, as long as you are free hitting in 27 or have, you understand what kind of plans you have for 27 in terms of getting some Arsenal and Liverpool players back out of your team to get that starting 11 all playing, basically. So there we go. I really like this one. That's what I'd go for if I were you. And there you have it, guys. Those are my 6 favourite Jota replacements for this game week. Now, I know you guys are probably going to be asking about some other potential players. Honestly, the reason why I limited this list to 6 is because I would only go for these 6. They are outside of this. I mean, you can make other suggestions. You can say like Sarr at Watford or Coutinho at Aston Villa. I'm not feeling any of them. I'm really not. So if you're like kind of thinking of asking me in particular if I like any of the other options, then the answer is no. But certainly maybe other people like those options, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't know everything. I may have missed something really obvious here, but from the research I've done today, these are the only ones that I would consider But if you do think I'm seriously missing someone from this list, do let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what kind of Jota replacements you are thinking of, or maybe you're thinking about just removing Jota and, you know, going for a Firmino instead, or just going for like a basement level midfielder so you can upgrade somewhere else. But I just spoke about midfielders in here. But there we go anyway, guys. So hopefully this was useful. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you are new around here as well. We've got a free hit video coming up just in a couple of hours time, so stay tuned for that. There'll be a deadline stream tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, where I'm going to knock in my own transfers as well. So there we go, guys. Thanks once again for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.